Online platforms don't just show us the content we want. They influence what we want and even what we think, simply by deciding what we see next. The longer we scroll, the more time we spend on the apps, the more ads we see, and the more money the platforms make. So to keep us on there for longer, they show us content we're most likely to react to.
At first, it's random, but once we do like something or send it to a group chat, the algorithm learns what kind of content to keep showing us. And it always tries to outdo itself and show us something more extreme or shocking to keep us engaged. Now, if you play footy and your feed is full of game highlights, algorithms can seem like a great thing. But when you're trying to search for content to help you increase your fitness for footy, and the next video is about how to get a six-pack, and the one after that is about how girls won't want to sleep with you unless you have a six-pack, the problem becomes clear.
Algorithms have the power to completely shape how we see ourselves and others, and often we don't even realize it.
If you're a 15-year-old boy and you go onto YouTube, what the algorithm will send you is so different than if you're, say, a mum or dad and you're a plumber, interior designer. What it's going to send you in terms of your interests is so different. And I think we all have to be wise to that, because I think we all think we're having the same experience in our social media platforms, because we're all on Snap, we're all on TikTok, we're all on Instagram, but we're all seeing very different things. And there's even a difference between boys and girls who can be the same age, but obviously their social media spaces are vastly different.
The things that I like on social media are sport, WWE wrestling, and stand-up comedy, but for some reason I'm still getting served like bikinis and softcore porn and stuff like that, and I don't really know why.
To get up your For You page and someone else's For You page and to see how they are completely different, and that will be based on your interests or the things that you look at, the people that you follow, and so on.
That's why social media is so polarized. That's why we're all fed different content. There's division that happens. And it's not in our benefit for that division to happen. Long gone are the days where we could just scroll through all of our friends' pics and be like, cool, everyone's having a nice life, and it wouldn't mean anything. We wouldn't be served content that is damaging, that's shaping our perception of world politics or our own bodies or our relationships. That's where we are now. So how are you engaging?
I think sadly for all of us humans, we get a buzz from it, don't we? It gives us a bit of an adrenaline rush, a bit of cortisol, seeing something stressful or new. We get a dopamine hit through novel or new stimulation. And so the more extreme or provocative something is, we're kind of wired to be exploited by that.
So to keep us scrolling, platforms will show us content that grabs our attention and keeps us on the app. But what works best at keeping our attention, as studies show, is content that triggers a strong reaction or makes us feel like we belong.
This can be positive reactions like love or admiration, but it's more likely to be anger and outrage.
The fact that they can rage bait you, they're just there for the algorithm just to get more monetary value out of it. The more views they get, the more they get paid out, the more opportunities, the more brand deals, whatever it is, right? It's all about working the algorithms.
The stronger the feeling, the more we watch. We scroll and scroll, and the next thing we know, we're watching someone say that being a high-value man means having a high body count, and that high-value females have a low body count.
And when we look at the comments, most people seem to agree. Comments can have their own algorithms, leading us to only see the stuff we agree with.
This makes us feel like what we're reading or watching is popular or truth, even when it could be completely made up or quite an uncommon opinion. This is called an echo chamber. Echo chambers can make us feel a sense of community and that we belong because we have these shared opinions.
But in reality, it can expose us to some really extreme stuff, isolate us from other worldviews, and lower our empathy towards people with different opinions.
Meanwhile, the online platforms are making bank.
Massive corporations can send us content through gambling, pornography, social media to keep us consuming, clicking, scrolling, coming back.
You could click on one video, the algorithm will learn about it, and then that is what it's going to serve you. So we can very easily get trapped in a world that we think or know to be true, where we're only being served specific kind of content or videos or ideas because the algorithm knows that you're going to like that. And I think it's really important for all of us to be critical of this.
When I started doing content of my own, that's when I really realized that it was a lot more purposeful than what I was just experiencing when I was scrolling. Yeah, and just going down YouTube rabbit holes of, video essays, that's when I realized how probably more sinister it was than I was anticipating at the start.
Gotten a bit curious about like self-improvement and like confidence boosting. I felt a little bit like I wanted to learn more in that area, and then very quickly it was straight into the sort of pickup artist YouTube scene, and I look back on it now and was aware that like that sort of leads to some pretty misogynistic places, if not it being a misogynistic place itself. And I wish I'd noticed it more at the time, but I think it was definitely the algorithms taking me on a journey.
Could be something to do with, getting healthy in the gym, which nothing wrong with that. Then all of a sudden it's steadily escalating, and then all of a sudden they're finding that the people they're following are taking steroids to achieve that. And then that person's also telling them, well, not only do you need to look this way so you can be successful and win a partner, there's also certain ways that you now need to do that. So do you know that this is the way you should talk? These are the things you should try and prey on in others. And so you've gone from, hey, I want to just improve my life, but that quickly gets weaponized to all of a sudden that you need to be doing certain things to take advantage of people in scenarios.
If people are going to be getting bad stuff on their algorithm, they're going to be getting a lot of bad stuff, whereas people who are getting good stuff are probably going to be missing out on seeing and being exposed to that bad stuff, which makes it tricky because, the people who probably need to see the educational resources, the things that are coming up on their social media is probably going to be similar to the way that they're thinking. It's probably just going to make it even worse.
Sometimes you learn more of social media than if you're in high school about what is or isn't okay, but it's also making sure that what they're saying is also true and accurate, because you don't want to hear something and take advice of someone that isn't. And there's that space where it's important to hear from people that know what they're talking about.
Most of us are trying to be the best versions of ourselves.
So we can watch self-improvement or motivational content to help us get there.
Maybe it's fitspo,
dating advice,
money tips,
or just role models telling us how they've achieved success.
But the algorithm can take us to some dark places.
We might get fed ideas like 80% of women are only attracted to 20% of men.
That they don't care about our struggles and will only respect you if you're superior to them.
Online attacks against trans women and trans men are also rising. When these hateful messages are pushed to us over and over again and reinforced through comments and forums, we might just come to believe them, and sometimes we do.
These extreme ideas twist what it means to be a man, pushing strict gender roles and making guys feel angry about how unfair things are.
But instead of calling out those expectations, which are the real problem, they shift the blame onto women instead.
It took 4, 5, 6 years of absorbing every comment sent to me until I started to notice an effect in my mental health.
At the root of healthy relationships is consent, empathy, equality, and respect for one another. But lots of content online tries to tell us otherwise.
The videos and the content that weaponize words like feminist and toxic masculinity and all that sort of stuff, and all of these videos that were being served to us were videos of women being aggressive and being really angry, and that would make us generalize women as just one thing. It's just all these angry feminists that are just out to get us. But then you just reflecting, it was the dudes who want to serve that agenda feeding boys like us that content.
So what can start as that self-confidence pathway that leads into that pickup artist activity can lead down to things like white supremacy and literal Nazi behavior and mindsets, and that just kind of sneaks in there.
Especially in a sort of younger audience where they're sort of being fed that information through media, they're sort of confined to that sort of way of thinking.
That's what they grow up on. That becomes their subconscious, their feelings, their emotions. And that's something that's really hard to change. My advice would be stray away from that sort of content. Try to be more open-minded when it comes to finding out about that sort of stuff.
I think we need to all remember that our echo chamber is not the only echo chamber, and it's not going to be the perfectly correct echo chamber. And I think the danger of echo chambers is that they are really hard to break into and change and help people in them see outside them.
What boys are being fed, the ideas that's in a sense kind of creating a bit of grievance in them, this sense of they're being hard done by, that they're kind of falling behind, is being preyed on by bad faith actors. And so people are seizing into that and tapping into, I find, people's grievances, trying to create scapegoats. And sadly, as humans, we love a scapegoat, someone else to blame, to not take responsibility for what we're experiencing.
To protect our relationships, ourselves and others, we need to build skills to think critically about what algorithms are serving us.
This is media literacy, and you may have learnt parts of this at school.
So if you find yourself in these echo chambers, try and find other sources. Maybe turn to something else. Maybe turn to a book, or turn to a different online platform, or speak to someone who may have slightly different political ideas or values to you, just to get a sense of different ways of thinking. Because if you were being served the exact same message all the time, that's probably a really good sign that the algorithm has got you figured out.
Another form of media we should learn to think critically about is porn.
Most of us get at least some of our sex ed from porn years before our first sexual experience with another person, whether we mean to see that porn or not. So years before we've had the chance to get out there and explore our own sexuality, we're being shown what it should look like.
Life isn't like those blockbuster movies you see on the big screen. And in the same way, porn you find on Pornhub is not a reflection of what sex looks like for everyone, or what feels good for everyone.
It's a performance, and it's only a snapshot of a certain kind of sex.
I mean, it is the default sex educator in the absence of actually engaging young people to think about the meaning we associate with sex.
So let's start developing some porn literacy. 1. Consent can't be assumed.
It's not super common for scenes you see in porn to show actual consent.
But off camera, often performers give consent to all acts that will be included in the scene.
What viewers see though is very different. Someone saying no or I don't think we should is often framed as a challenge to overcome rather than a boundary to respect.
Performers also don't often check in as they shift from one thing to another, like moving from kissing to giving head, and they make it look like everyone's down for everything all the time.
I don't think I've seen any media really actually showing proper consent and displaying it in a way that's respectful.
It could betray unrealistic expectations of how consent should be. Things might move faster than you expect, or it looks easier.
I feel like pornography and all that stuff, it's very superficial. People expect it. That's what people are looking for. That's what I need to be, instead of just being themselves.
And often the porn that you're served when you go onto a site like that is pretty hardcore. It's pretty intense.
Despite what you see in porn, ongoing consent is a must. 2. Physical harm is not a required part of sex.
In most mainstream porn, men are dominant, aggressive, and sometimes violent. While this is the dynamic that some enjoy, many men don't like it.
Rough sex is depicted as the norm, with acts like strangulation shown without consent.
And I've seen too many cases of young women saying, I was having sex with this new person and out of nowhere they started choking me. And it was really scary and it was really traumatizing. And I was surprised that they thought that this was okay.
Up to 9 in 10 of the most watched porn videos show acts of physical aggression or violence.
Women are almost always the people being hurt, and most of them don't resist or even look like they're in pain.
I think we as dudes, when you're first exposed to it, you think of sex as a very singular thing of this is what I'm gonna get. We didn't even see the other person in the situation as something to be cared about.
But I reckon some people definitely took influence of it. They think this is what it's in this is how it's shown, surely that's how it's like in real life. Whereas some people don't like that at all.
This sends a message that most women expect or enjoy really rough sex.
Assuming that the person you're sleeping with automatically wants whatever you've seen in porn can be dangerous.
Hence, we're seeing more violence, more violent acts, certainly without consent in people's sexual experiences, because they've kind of just gone cut, copy, paste. I saw that in pornography. Well, everybody's up for that all the time, and I don't need to ask, I don't need to check in.
Everyone's desires are different. So it's on you to ask for consent and respect the answer every time.
3. Bodies in porn don't reflect the diversity of bodies in real life. Porn actors are often surgically enhanced, with men typically being really muscular with large penises, and women often having fake boobs and no body hair.
People get too much expectation from watching it. They expect that's what it's going to be like for you.
The types of bodies, what bodies should look like. Often they're toned and white and thin and perky.
This can create insecurity among us and confusion about what's actually normal among sexual partners. In reality, people come in all shapes and all sizes.
4. Porn can reinforce harmful stereotypes about diverse people. When porn includes different types of people, it sometimes does so in a way that is disrespectful. through fetishizing people that are diverse.
These representations often dehumanize diverse people, reinforcing harmful or degrading stereotypes about them. Having a sexual preference is fine, but fetishizing people is not.
5. Just like on social media, porn sites want to keep you there for as long as they can. This even extends to how long the sex itself actually lasts. Spoiler, what is shown on screen is much longer than the average length of time people have sex.
Because, you probably guessed it, more time spent on site equals more ads sold equals more profits for the porn site.
And just like on social media, they do this by making what you see more and more extreme, further distorting our idea of what sex should look like, and even impacting our ability to enjoy the sex we do have.
The bottom line, you don't need to mimic everything you see in porn.
And you definitely shouldn't try to do anything you've seen without first checking if your partner is into it too.
I talk to young people about this because this was my story. You know, I was exposed to porn at 11 years of age. It was my default sex education well before my first kiss, let alone sexual experience. And the question I ask is, what did that start teaching me about men, women, stereotypes, gender, bodies, sexuality, consent, intimacy, pleasure? Was it teaching me healthy things or harmful things?
I think it just genuinely damages the relationships you have with women in your life. You know, I remember, I was being served that content before I really ever had a deep and meaningful conversation with a girl before. So that was my first sort of exposure to the other gender, and that's how, and it affected me because I knew all of my mates were seeing the same sort of stuff, and we all sort of had the same viewpoint and the same mentality when it came to women and girls, and it wasn't, it wasn't okay, but there was nobody there to tell us that it wasn't okay.
All of this stuff can escalate, and it's designed to do so, where things that were extreme one moment are just vanilla the next, as things just escalate and you become acclimatized to these new attitudes that you're adopting.
The internet is a tool. Tools can be really handy, but they can also be really dangerous if they're not used properly.
With that in mind, let's think about who we follow, what we watch, and how literally we take it.
Let's make sure we've got multiple sources of information, be that fitness, dating, sex, or whatever you're into.
We can find role models who champion respect over rage, online and out in the real world. Sometimes it might just mean taking a break.
I reckon there's something in muscle memory fighting. I know when I don't want to go on socials, or I want to have boundaries with socials, I want to be more healthy with my socials. It's not even actually up to my brain anymore because my hand is just going to reach for that phone. So I'll delete the apps, I'll move my phone away from me and just see how I feel, just noticing. Do I feel uncomfortable? Do I feel stressed about the fact that I can't reach for it? That's probably telling me something.
You could also consider reporting violent content to the platform you're on or to the eSafety Commission.
By understanding how algorithms work and seeking out diverse perspectives, we can escape the pitfalls of polarization.
And start building a digital culture that uplifts rather than divides.
I think reclaiming your media diet is like an exciting idea, right? It's like you're no longer this passive consumer that's just taking on everything that you receive. It's like, what do you actually want to get out of how you use your devices? How do you actually want to feel? Like, that's what we should be focusing on.
Social media is useful in many ways. It connects people, it provides people with information, it provides people with community. However, it's harmful and dangerous in many ways because it can radicalize people and it can get them in an echo chamber and they're unsure that there's all these other things existing.
Go and touch some grass and be out with mates and play footy and, go into the pub with your parents, to catch up with, family, friends and stuff like that.
The most powerful thing that people who are profiting from division and polarization don't want you to know is that if you can join forces with and find common ground with people who are different from you, identity-wise, background, faith, whatever, and find a way to build coalitions together to fight the things that are hurting all of us in different ways, that's dynamite. They don't want us to know that.